And it's the super segment of the Jim Miller for President Sports Program talking about Super Bowl 45, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Green Bay Packers. And we got two Packers fans here.
We do.
Talk about it.
And we have two Bears fans as well.
Yep, so
and one kid who just doesn't give a fuck.
Yep, so it's
frankly.
Me and Ryan going to be talking with Andrew Stevens, Will McGinty, and Cory Bender, all three of our football analysts in for this one.
Just two football analysts, like 1.5.
Well, hey, we do have Andrew. He did pick the Cardinals to go to the Super Bowl.
But he's technically he's the producer, even though I produce the show, really.
He just messes around by the camera.
Yeah, I just kind of hear.
Yeah, and he gives me the finger off the camera, and then I give him the finger back, and then we have controversies.
Right. Well, now that you have a background on our studio crew, let's get down to business, shall we?
All right, I'm going to let somebody else go first because I'm tired of talking, especially because we just did a segment that we didn't post.
Okay.
That went absolutely nowhere. The labor situation, we're not posting labor situation. It was awful. It lasted like 10 seconds. Anyway.
It was like old days.
Yeah, it was like because I talked for a little while, and I was like, does anyone else have anything to say? No. So it went really well. Let's start with Cory. Go ahead and talk about the Super Bowl a little bit. Go through the two teams.
Super Bowl of all proportions. You know you got the...
Well, aren't all Super Bowls of epic proportions?
Maybe.
No.
Joking. God, you gotta just crush my mojo there? No. There's no mojo at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is Super Bowl XLV or Super Bowl 45.
XLV, I love that.
Yeah, I know. Beautiful Cowboy Stadium, which costs about $2 billion, which is ridiculous.
I really want to go there.
We have the two-time Super Bowl champions with Ben Roethlisberger.
I'm ripping your chair apart, by the way.
And then you got Aaron Rodgers, who was on his way to become a Super Bowl champion. But
Aaron Rodgers.
You know what? I don't know about this game. They got pretty good defenses, but in the running game, they're both really shit. Well, you can say James Stark is okay. Rashard Mendenhall's good. I'll give you that. But still, it's all about Roethlisberger and Rodgers.
It is. It's all about quarterbacks.
Roethlisberger's not a stats guy, but in the clutch, he could win this game. So you know what the Packers have to do is they got to come out early like they did in the Bears game and just score as many points as possible and make sure their defense can stop them because the Steelers, if they get on a roll like they did in the AFC Championship game, it's over. I mean, maybe not totally over because they can still score. But if they don't get to a good start, whoever gets to the best start, in my mind, is going to win this game. I don't care how close of a game it is or, like, I don't know. It just depends.
Both the teams had a good start in those championship games,
Let me give this... these are the two best, not just defenses in the league right now, the two best defensive coordinators in the game. Yeah. When you consider Dom Capers and Dick LeBeau, two guys that are just like proverbial masterminds, if you will, at just moving chess pieces around. So it's going to be really interesting how these two teams attack the game, because if the Steelers blitz a lot, Aaron Rodgers can just... he's like the best quarterback against the blitz that we've had in the last 3 years. But then if you stay in coverage, he's just gonna tear you up anyway. So I mean, it's just this entire game is like the biggest chess match in terms of coaching strategies that I can remember. Now, I've only been alive 16 years, so I'm sure there had to have been one bigger before that, like those Lombardi versus Hallis matchups back when my parents were like 10. Shows you how old they are.
It's kind of interesting how they both play the same 3-4 defense.
Yeah.
So they both have practice on it, so it's going to be interesting how the offenses will work.
Dick LeBeau and Dom Capers were on the same staff. Bill Cowher's staff. Back, I believe, the year they went to the Super Bowl in 1995 and got blown out by Troy Aikman and the Cowboys. So this entire game has a very interesting sentiment to me. And right now, we're so far away from the game, I think it's going to take a little while to break it down. And I'm going to send it to Andrew on this because I want to make him feel nervous. That the Packers are favored in this game. Does that... you know what? Fuck you, Andrew. Let's open it up to absolutely everybody.
Good call.
Why on God's green earth are the Packers favored in this game? They were favored last week. They weren't favored in Atlanta, and they were favored in Philadelphia as well, I believe. Why are they always favored in these games? To me, Pittsburgh is, besides the quarterback position where they're dead even, in my opinion, I think Pittsburgh has the advantage in every other area, including defense and maybe not offensive line, but definitely in defense. So, just ask everybody, why is Green Bay favored to win this thing when the Steelers, to me, seem so much better?
The way I see it is the way that they handled the Bears defense. They got after them early, and I mean obviously the Bears are a defensive team. the best defense out there, one of them at least.
Mm-hmm.
So, handling Peppers and Adonijay and everything like that, and it turned out good for them. So I think that's why that their favorite. It gives them a slight edge, just the way that they handled a great defense, I should say.
Yeah.
So that's why I think they have the advantage.
When we were talking about this at our newspaper meeting on Monday, we all thought Pittsburgh was going to be favored by like 9.5.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about at the meeting. Like, oh my God, the Steelers are going to be totally favored. But Green Bay is favored by 2.5 at this point. That lines change all the time. We've got 8 days, I think, until the next Super Bowl. So until the Super Bowl kicks off, they're not favored by much. Just the idea that they're favored to me, I think, is nuts. We'll go to the next one. Willy.
Well, to me, the reason Green Bay is favored is because they've gone on the road 3 straight weeks and they've won. And I could see them beating Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam.
And maybe Atlanta. But, like, you eventually got to pick the underdog if they have some sort of chemistry. And, like, the run they've been on is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
What scares me about Pittsburgh is they haven't really played a complete game yet.
Right.
Because if you remember the Baltimore game,
yeah,
they had a terrible first half. Then, last week against the Jets, they had a terrible second half.
Yes, they did.
So I think that's why Green Bay is getting the 2.5 edge here.
Because the Packers did play a complete game in Atlanta. They were completely on it for 4 quarters, 48-21, 27,
like that.
24.
Well, I don't think the Packers were all that strong this season, like the regular season.
They were terrible. We were talking about this on JMFPSP when we broke down the NFC Championship game before it was. Both the teams, the Bears and the Packers, at some points in the season looked god-awful.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the Packers lost 2 overtime games in a row against Miami and Washington earlier in the season, and they were just dreadful. Just defensively, they were terrible. The Packers couldn't move the ball, and then Aaron Rodgers got the concussion, and I thought the season was tanked then. And all of a sudden, they're in the Super Bowl. This has been the most bizarre year in the NFC, to say the least.
Who would have seen the Bears and Packers being the 2 best teams of the NFC?
Right.
At the end of the year?
I'll stay on the same. Have you talked yet about this? Why are the Packers favored in your mind?
Why are they favored? I don't know. I guess I'm going to go back to what Willie said about they've been on the road for 3 straight weeks, and they've gotten the win. And you know what? They've have played complete games a lot this year. Maybe not in the regular season, but a lot in the playoffs. And the playoffs is a whole different season. They may look like shit during the regular season, but if you can get it together in the playoffs, I don't care who it is. I mean, look at the Seahawks, what they did. They beat the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they were in their own stadium, but if you can, you just got to take it one game at a time. I know that sounds like shit, and but look what happened with Brian Belichick and Tom Brady. They've won 3 fucking Super Bowls.
Right.
Come on.
It's Bill, by the way.
Sorry.
All right, one more. Why are the Packers favored? And then I'll change the question.
I actually have no idea.
Fuck you.
A for effort, man.
Also, going back to the beginning of the season, a lot of people picked the Packers to win the Super Bowl, which I didn't see. But you know what? The last 60 to do it was the Steelers to win the Super Bowl, so you never know.
Okay, I'll change this around. Should the Packers be favored to win this game? I'll let my co-host do it first.
Should the Packers be favored to win? By a little bit, yes, I think so. They got good receivers and a great quarterback. I think they have the potential to do it.
Okay,
it's been a while since the last one.
That's a good point. I'm gonna skip the Packer fan. Why? Should the Packers be favored in this game?
No, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Steelers have been there, obviously, in the past half century 2 times. So I think they get the edge just based on that fact.
Okay. You're not a meatball fan. You're pretty level-headed. So why should the Packers be favored in this game?
If it's maybe by the 1 or 2 points where they are, I guess. But I really think the Steelers should be the favorite. Ben Roethlisberger's clutch, and he's shown it before.
Right.
He's already got experience in the Super Bowl, and Aaron does not. But he's played great in the playoffs. So I really don't know, but I'd say the Steelers by at least 2 would be the good possibility.
Okay, and Andrew, I've got a separate question for you. Do you even know what sport we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Making sure. Do you have any thoughts? Should the Packers be favored to win the Super Bowl? No.
Both teams have good receiving and defense, but I think the Steelers are just a little bit better in both fields.
Okay. And in my mind, I think the Steelers have a quarterback that's already won 2 rings and the best run-stopping defense.
Right.
So average third-string James Starks isn't going to be able to move the ball at all in this game. I think Ben Roethlisberger is one of the most clutch quarterbacks we've ever seen. and I think the Steelers should be favored by 9.5. We're not going to pick Tim and I are not going to pick the game today. We'll do that next week when you and me and possibly Cory do the official Super Bowl breakdown. So, but I think the Steelers have a serious edge in two areas that really matter in championship football: quarterbacking and defense. All right, last but not least, let's pick the game. I'll let Andrew pick because he hasn't said anything, so go ahead.
Steelers.
Steelers, why?
Pretty much everything coming together. Roethlisberger is good in the clutch, receiving, and the defense is better. It's
Okay.
very defense.
Who are you going to pick?
Defense wins championships. I mean.
Yeah,
Most of the time.
I have to go with the Steelers.
Mhm.
I think it'll come down to Ben Roethlisberger's hands, to be honest, again. And as much as I hate the guy, he probably should. He should. If he was black, he'd be in jail. Let's face it. Come on.
Yeah.
Willy has moral issues with Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, I mean, my mom's just like, take his fucking head off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I gotta go with him. You know, he's such a physical specimen. Like, you try to sack him, and he's hard to bring down.
I heard a player say trying to sack Ben Roethlisberger is like trying to sack a what was it? Oh, snowplow.
Yeah.
Okay, and Cory.
Well, the fan of me wants the Packers to win, but honestly, the fan of me, the expert, not really expert, but yeah, the Steelers will definitely win this game. It's going to be a close game. It's going to come down to Ben Roethlisberger again.
Mm-hmm.
Many people might think this could be the year where he chokes. No, I don't see that happening at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be like maybe a field goal or at most like a last-second touchdown.
Tim and I will pick the game later. I have one more for you because you hate Ben Roethlisberger. Usually people who hate Ben Roethlisberger hate Michael Vick. Do you still hate Michael Vick?
No.
No. Very good. God bless you.
So we got Steelers from Andrew Stevens and Steelers from Willy and Steelers from
everyone.
Cory. So
You and I will pick the game in a week.
yeah. A final thought is that Sports Illustrated, this was the Super Bowl they picked at the beginning
Peter
of the
King.
year.
Yeah, Peter King picked Steelers Packers.
Wow.
I tweeted
I did
him.
not know that.
I was like, congratulations, Pete. I called him Pete. I don't know if anyone calls Peter King Pete. He doesn't look like a Pete. But I was like, whatever. All right.
He's an NFL expert.
All right, good stuff. Thanks to everybody for being here today. Tim, next week.
Next
We're
week.
going to get into the matchup,
The
man.
big predictions.
All right, it'll be fun. Good stuff. See you next time. It's BWC Internet Radio.